pretty lead Lee 7/8 slugs that we cast yesterday was on the Hodgson website. We're looking at the load data for HS6. This is for 2 3/4 wind compression form AA and HS plastic shells. There is a difference. You should take the time to learn the difference, but the HS is a later or newer high strength type hull that Winchester came out with, and it has a little different interior dimension than the compression form, so make sure you make yourself aware of the difference and know what you're working with. So it says lead slug 7/8. This is from Hodgson's website. HS6 is the powder we're working with. There's two formulations here. One of them, well, they both use a Win W209 primer, and then there's two different wads listed here, the WAA12 and WAA12R, 38 grains with the 12 and 33.5 with the 12R. You see the difference in the pressure there and the feet per second. So about 1200 below maximum PSI. So we're going to be a little bit careful on our weighing. I got my Lyman digital scale out and also my RCBS beam scale just so I can double check my work. So I picked out 10 hulls, and my first step is to wipe them down. A little rag. These are once fired hulls that I got from BPI. Look at the stamp down here. This is the HS. You can look inside with a flashlight. You'll see what I'm talking about. A little different interior molded piece in there. So we're gonna resize. This is the Lee load all we're using. This is the resizing ring, and we're gonna deprime. That's the first station. Make sure to get that resizing ring all the way to the bottom. You can see here now the primer's been removed. Next station, I already got a primer in there. You just let it fall down here and remove the sizing ring. If you push too hard, you will push the primer through the primer hole, and then the resizing ring pops off. So I got 10 hulls set aside there. So you can see here, this is the claybuster. This says WAA12R replacement wad, reference loading data, WAA12R. Now, one thing about these, if you read the reloading manuals, is they'll tell you they're not exact. If you look at the shape and size, they really are not exact. It's too bad that you really can't get Winchester wads, because they made excellent wads. Hopefully they come back. So what I do is I'll fill up a little bag, and then I will put some mica wad slick, Ballistic Products mica wad slick. Just take a little bit with a lead dipper. You don't need a whole lot. You shouldn't try to breathe this if the dust gets air in the air. So just be mindful of that. You don't want to go sniffing mica all day and all night. A little bit of use in the garage is no big deal. Put it in the bag, shake it up. One thing with slugs, putting this mica in here will help a little bit with the free velocity boost going through the barrel, and also help the slug separate from the wad. HS6 powder. So we'll weigh out our powder charges, fill up all of our hulls, then we will go to the Lee load all, put in the wad, add the slug, and then crimp, and they'll be good to go. It's really nice to have a digital because it goes quicker. You don't have to wait for your beam scale to stop swaying. So I don't necessarily trust my electric scale 100%. So I will use it with my beam scale. So I will weigh out a charge. I will see how much it fills in this dipper. This is a Lee universal dipper. It's like $3. And whoops, it expands so you can get different sizes. So I'll visualize what the charge looks like, try to estimate it with every scoop. Start out with the digital, then pour the digital into the beam scale. It adds a little time, but with these loads being close to max, I think it's worth it, and I'm not making a whole lot of them. So this is the Lyman Mini Touch. It's not the cheapest digital scale, but I find that sometimes it does wander a little bit, and I have to recalibrate it or turn it off and turn it on. And rather than keep messing with it, I'll just double check with the beam scale, so I'll get some good efficiency going. So we'll start out, we're looking for, so always make these little cards with whatever I'm loading, and then I'll put this in a bag with the actual load. So here we're going to go 33.5 grains of HS6 with our 12R wad. Took about 5 minutes, and it's kind of nice having two scales because I can kind of work on two loads at once. Again, this is low volume. I think this Lyman Micro Touch digital scale is good. I've read a lot of reviews about digital scales, and they seem to be having the same problem with the fluctuation. And I think honestly it's got to be the level. My level here is a little bit off, so not a big deal. I can work with the RCBS. The RCBS adjusts for level. This is the M500, and you can't defeat the laws of physics with a level scale, beam scale. It's going to be very accurate. So I think the problem most people are having, they say, you know, some of the reviews I've read on other digital scales that they do level their workbench, whatever, but it's just an electronic piece of electronic, you know, it's all mechanical and electronic. When you have an electronic, it induces another possible failure, many other possible failures other than just mechanical. But it's nice to have both, because your mechanical scale could be off. Sometimes you got it on the wrong notch, or the actual, where the knife point is, it could be off. I've had that happen. And you just have to catch these things. So it's good to have presence of mind, check things, and have two different systems to check. The other thing is I'll just make a quick visualization that you didn't double charge anything. So we got 163 there, 162, 161. I know I didn't double charge because I was working in two different areas. So what I would do is I would put the charge cases across from where I have the uncharged. But you never know. I mean, you start thinking about things and the mind wanders. So there's no double charge here. That's a quick 30-second check. That will give you peace of mind. So I'm going to seal up the powder. Make sure those tops are tight. Get over to our slugs here and load up. The next step will be to load up our wads. And take our charged hull, pop it in. I put a little washer here on the Lee load all. It gives, I think, the option to seat my hull a little bit, my wad a little bit deeper. Feel that out there. You don't want to crush it too much, but you can see in there we got the wad slick. So what we're gonna do is give a test run. Got these ballistic products, mini nitro cards. You can make these out of solid cardboard, but when I order stuff from them, it's easy enough. So I put one in here, trying to see if I can get that flush. So we'll start the crimp and see how it crimps, and then see if I need to put two. May need to put two. So the way these work is you line up the crimp line right with where you're standing, and that will line up with the way the crimps are in the load all. And then just easy pressure. Cases can buckle, so just ease into it. And you'll see this is way too low. Two, obviously that one is a reject, so we'll cut that one open and put it into a new shell. What I did was fiber wads. We're going to push the column up a little bit. So this is the 20 gauge quarter. And then what I showed you earlier, these mini nitro cards, 20 gauge. Anytime you have a 12 gauge and you're putting something inside of the wad, it should be 20 gauge. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the fiber wad, then put the mini nitro card, then take the Lee slug, pop it on top. You can see it sticks out above. We'll take a hull, pop her in, push down, a little bit of pressure, not too much. You can see kind of there, crimp. Come over here, line up the line on the crimp with your body. This is an 8 crimp, so we use the front. If it was a 6 crimp, we'd use the back. Even good pressure in. Come to the crimp finisher. Make sure you bottom out here. So that's pretty good. These slugs came out pretty good. I used a lot more lead in my mixture. I was using a mixture that had a little bit more tin and antimony, and I was casting a little bit slower, so I was getting a lot of wrinkles. But these are nice and shiny. There's a couple little baby wrinkles, but very happy with these. I weighed them out, and they weigh shy of 7/8, which is fine. I mean, they're within like 5%, 5 to 10%. But I had a little bit of antimony and a little bit of tin, so that's to be expected when you're not using pure lead. I did add a little bit more lead to my mixture, but very nice crimp. You can see the slug in there. I mean, we can add an overshot card just to see what happens. Use paper overshot cards in. We can crimp that and see if that gives a perfectly flat crimp, although the crimp that we had before was not a problem. So you notice here there's a little bit, you can see where the wad is pushing against the hull, but the crimp is very flat. So I don't know, I think I kind of like having a little bit of a indent with the crimp, but no real noticeable pressure on the hull. So I don't really like that overshot method. Alright, I think you guys got the recipe, so let's take these out and test them, see what happens.